Let's take a look at someone's body map. So this is a tool that I use all the time. It helps me to figure out muscular imbalances, postural deviations, things that are taking people out of alignment, and where do I need to create balance in order to get them out of pain, feeling, and functioning better. So I thought, how fun would it be to kind of go through different pieces? This is usually where people discover like, oh, is that why it hurts when this happens or when I do this? And then they figure out what are they doing in their everyday life that's reinforcing these imbalances that are adding to their discomfort or pain. And then that way we can start making corrections, either through body work or their exercise. Now, a lot of times when people look at this, they think, oh my gosh, I am really messed up, because they've got all these lines and arrows that all mean different things, and they think they're totally screwed up. They're not. So when I take a look at this, I want to look at where are the deviations that are normal versus where are the deviations that are not normal. Like, where are the elephants, the guys that really stick out, that don't make sense and shouldn't be there. So for instance, let's take this A for instance. So that A represents an anterior tilt that I found in someone's pelvis. So imagine if this is their pelvis, they have one side that's like this in an anterior tilt and one side that's not. So it should be, I would rather see a symmetry. But when there's that asymmetry, you've got one that's a super pinch off in the low back on that side versus the other. Now, when I discovered and I wrote this in, she happened to point out, oh, that's the side that I also experience pain in my SI joint. And that's the side that I typically, when I'm experiencing signs of sciatica, that's the side that it usually occurs on. Makes perfect sense, because we've got this pinch that's happening right there at the SI joint into the lumbar spine. So I know exactly why she's experiencing those symptoms, because I found it before she even told me that it was happening. Now, if you notice, pretty much all of these assessments are going to have, they end up having a rotation in the trunk in one direction and a counter rotation in the other direction. But let me tell you why. So let's say, because it's asking what's driving what is like asking what came first, the chicken or the egg. And a lot of times I want to be able to say that it's happening from the ground up, but that's not always the case. So when we're looking at, let's say that this is the trunk and this is the pelvis, okay? And we were to have them in line with each other. If we take the pelvis and rotate it to the right, even though this one didn't move in relationship to each other, this one's rotated to the left. And so I never want to mark only one and be able to say, oh, this is where the deviation is happening, because the body is always going to correct. So for instance, if my shoulders are rotated like this, my head in relationship is typically going to rotate back. Or sometimes, like in this case, this person's trunk is rotated to the right and her head is following suit. She's got enough rotation happening that her head is also going. Now, this client is actually also a perfect example of a neck that I'm not worried about. So natural rotation of the cervical spine is to rotate and flex to the same side. Now notice, so if I were to laterally flex to this side, you see how my head kind of lines up with that line there? That's the lateral flexion that I found in that. And that rotation is this. So if I combine those two, that is natural rotation of the cervical spine. So that's going to be an instance of something, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to ignore it, because I know that if I fix some of these other things, that will correct and fix itself. Now you might think, but Alba, look at all these lines that she's got going on this one leg. That leg must give her all sorts of problems. No, actually. So she's got this rotation to the left happening in her trunk, which means that in relationship to each other, these hips are rotated, this one's internally rotated, this one's externally rotated. And again, it's in relationship to each other. If you take your pelvis and you rotate it, you're going to look down and see, oh yeah, that's gonna make this femur be externally rotated and this femur be internally rotated. Look at it on yourself. But it goes swoop, swoop, swoop. It's actually normal for her. So she's got this internal rotation here, she's got this external rotation of the tibia here, and then she's got high arches on both. So it is a natural rotation. So the fact that her body is correcting itself is good. If it wasn't correcting itself, that's when we've got a bigger problem. Now notice for her, I also drew an upside down triangle over here. So your sacrum is essentially an upside down triangle. And I drew hers on here because hers was not only, it had a tilt, it was rotated, it was twisted, it was all like contorted, out of alignment. So she needs to go to the chiropractor for one. But I look at this and I think, okay, she's got this anterior tilt here, and she's got her sacrum that's all out of alignment here. So what happens if I work to correct this? Will it help to correct this? The likelihood is yes. And then if she goes to the chiropractor and he adjusts and gets this correct, then I want to look at that and go, okay, what exercises then do I want to give her to help reinforce and help to control and maintain the adjustment that she gets when she goes to the chiropractor, so that this stays into place, because I know that this is a huge driving factor for a whole bunch of these lines and arrows. So what's that one thing that I can do to correct that helps a little bit of everything?